Hello and welcome to Who's On Next, the podcast where it's like a ninja. It appears when you least expect it. Today I have with me a voice actor who's been in some notable work such as Ozumatsu, ReZero, One Punch Man, and is currently working on... It's currently in shit. I just
You know what? That works. No, this is honestly the most honest way you could have introduced me, because there are times when keep it rolling, because there are so many times where people are like, so what have you been in? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm in.
Can I go to behind the voice actors? Vinland Saga.
My
Zero.
My brain Windows device goes bum.
I had it written down, and I realized when I wrote in my notepad, oh no, I only wrote like 2 things, and usually I say like 4 or 5 things.
How
and
dare
I meant
you?
to write down like 2.
How dare you, sir? Trying to interview me as a special guest, you couldn't even bother to do basic research about the roles that I forgot I played? How could you?
Well, I'm sorry. I was pressed for time, and I just completely forgot that I only wrote 2 things until just now.
Well, thank you for having me. I hope you're doing well today.
I'm doing good, yeah. Anyway, so I guess
right.
just getting this started. What is it that got you into acting?
Are we talking about that got me personally just involved in voice acting to begin with, or are we talking like what got me in the professional side of the industry?
I guess just what is it that made you want to be an actor, and then what went from there, I guess.
A combination of boredom, being a night owl, liking Neopets, Adult Swim, and Maple Story. All of those. No, for real. This, as the story goes, as I've told often by now, high school, I was doing well enough to pass. Like, I don't mean like C passing. Like, I was keeping on top of my honors and AP classes, but nothing was holding my interest enough for me to want to be like, I want to dedicate 4 whole years of my life to this in college. So I would often, make up for that lack of knowing what I wanted to do by just aimlessly staying up until 3 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning on school nights, when I was supposed to get up at like 6:45, 7 o'clock for a bus. And I would spend that time either doing Maple Story grinding, or once we got closer to 3 in the morning, doing my Neopets dailies when it reset for the day, while Adult Swim started cycling back through their shows for the evening. Like, that's kind of what helped me go to sleep, was because the first time Adult Swim played all their episodes for that evening, everything was fresh. I was hearing it all. And then once I was hearing the same episodes again, that's when I was like, oh, I'm bored. I've heard this before. I'm getting tired.
This is the most like mid to late 2000s like tradition I've ever heard. Is I was up playing Neopets, playing Maple Story, and watching Adult Swim, and I know this because I did the same thing.
It was a way of life, man. But so the reason why that led to my discovery of voice acting, excuse me, is because Adult Swim had this like really annoying website advertisement shtick that they were doing around the same time. And eventually it pissed me off so much that I actually went to their website, because that's how advertising works. And I was browsing around, I was checking out some of the games they had to offer. And eventually I came across, it was kind of like a preview clip of an episode of Trinity Blood that was going to air in a couple weeks. It's like episode 22 or 23 or something like that. And while you were watching the clip, it would have like little VH1 behind the music video factoid bubbles pop up. And some of them were hyperlinks to different parts of the site, or like extra videos or stuff like that. And one of them was a video of an actor in the booth dubbing for their character during one of the scenes that episode was going to contain. And I'm watching it, and it's got 2 cameras. It's got the actor in the booth. It was like it wasn't quite a top-down angle, but like enough of one that you could still see their face.
It was like one of those cameras that was like in the corner of the room.
Yeah. And then the other one was it was just flat on the screen that they were, that had the clip that they were going to be dubbing. And so that was my first time ever getting to see someone's lip flaps in real life moving at the same time the lip flaps on the screen were moving. And even though my brother and I had done stuff in the past, like dubbing the Nintendo 64 games that we played together, it wasn't until this moment that it hit me that this was a thing that real people did and could do as a career. And it was, the best way I could describe it at that point was just like this attachment epiphany, where it was like, I don't feel like I fully understand what I'm looking at here, but it's speaking to me and I want to be a part of it. So I'm going to do whatever I have to do to get more involved with this and get deeper into it and turn it into a skill set, because this is finally something that interests me, not that I'm being asked to pick an interest from. And that's really where it all started. Just that same passion that made me want to start getting involved of my own accord is something that I hold near and dear, because I think it not only keeps me humble and keeps me engaged and interested in learning more about this industry, but that passion leads to a lot of really creative choices at times that have helped my career in more ways than it has created obstacles at times.
Right, yeah, and you were one of the people that I call it the digital generation of voiceover. Like, more so where you got your start doing stuff online, correct?
Yes. Especially at the time that I began, I was really, really big on like Newgrounds and figuring out or volunteering my time for people who are doing independent Flash animations and stuff like that. And then, of course, when my mentor found me and so graciously took me under his wing, he led me over to the Voice Acting Club, which is still active today. In fact, a lot of the people who now run the site and moderate the site were the amateurs of 10, 15 years ago. Kira Buckland, who used to be, an aspiring voice actress who was going to move from Alaska to California, is now the admin of the site. So, it's very cool seeing the new guard become the veterans that are helping the next generation train themselves.
So I think it's just so crazy to me to see how the dynamic has changed so much with voiceover, because it's still the same, but now within the last decade, there's been so many people that have been coming from doing online stuff, like which is just crazy to me to see how much has changed since the internet has become so much more prominent. Because it's been, God, I'm trying to even think of everybody. It's Kira Buckland, it's Josh Tomar, it's Lizzie Freeman, it's Aaron Hansen. It's just tons of people that had internet influence of some kind or just came from online and are now in just tons of big projects.
I think it speaks to the inclusivity of the industry. As long as you're willing to put the work in, as long as you're willing to train and learn from your peers and take critique, it's possible for anyone to do this from any state. Accents can be just as celebrated as what we would consider neutral accents. People from different nationalities can be represented even if they don't look exactly like the characters that they are playing. I feel like we're getting better at giving people of color, I'm sorry, what's BIPOC? Is that the proper term now?
By POC, yeah.
Yeah, by POC individuals, a chance to be seen and represented in media. We still have a long way to go, but we're getting better at it. So it's fun. It's really fun. And I like that it gives us the chance to step into worlds and into the shoes of characters and situations that otherwise might not be possible in real life.
I guess what would you say in terms of, like, what was the first like major production? Because IMDb can be fucking weird and some other sites can be weird. I guess what was the first like big major television production that you remember being a part of, I guess?
The first major big television production is me sneezing. Hold on, I'm gonna grab. Give me a second. Oh. Normally,
oh my God.
Congratulations, you are the first interview that I've actually not been able to stave off the need to sneeze for the entire time.
Oh, hell yeah. I got a first.
I'm allergic to quality. Anyway, the first TV style production that I've ever been a part of is actually more straightforward than you would think. It was when I voiced Diabel in Sword Art Online, which has become interesting for two reasons. One was because, at the time, I didn't see it as that big of a deal because, like, I was trying to keep myself humble, being like, okay, yeah, you got to be on Sword Art Online, you got to be on a show that aired on Toonami, but you were one character in a single episode, literally a single episode. And you shouldn't let your britches get too big. You've got a long way to go. It's pretty cool. It shows that you can show this to a client, that you were trusted enough that you voiced on a show that was broadcast on television. But of course, everyone around my same level at that time was freaking out. They were like, "Dude, you're on Toonami, you're on Adult Swim. What the heck? That's so cool. You're on TV." So it was probably my first taste of like how to handle having those moments of like celebrity status and not let it get to your head. But what I wasn't expecting was that Sword Art Online Progressive was going to happen, which I got to go to the premiere of a couple weeks ago. I don't think it was months ago by this point. So for me to get to revisit just under 10 years later, the character that kind of got my relationship with Bang Zoom started outside of Walla and background characters was a really weird experience. But that was definitely the first time I was on any sort of televised broadcast. Prior to that, it had mostly been just independent Flash animations. There were some indie games that I was a part of, some mobile games that I was a part of that were just kind of like 99-cent apps back when that was the really big thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but it was after that point that I started booking more work. For a long time, it was just video games. My anime career really did not grow at the same rate as that of my colleagues, or at least the people that we think of as being my consistent colleagues, like Kimlin Tran, Kira Buckland, Alejandro Sab, those people. It just veered really hard into video games for several years. And it wasn't until a mixture of Subaru Natsuki and Guido Mista that my anime portfolio finally started to grow as well. But even then, it feels like it was a temporary spike, because now it feels like I'm doing a lot more video games between, AI the Somnium Files, Halo Infinite, Trails of Cold Steel. I think that's just my niche. That's my personal calling for the meantime.
I mean, would that be the thing you'd prefer, or would there be more of like?
I prefer working.
Yeah.
No, for real. As long as I'm a good fit for it, whether it's anime, whether it's video games, I don't mind. Now, there's a little bit of bias towards video games because the pay rate on it is much better. Anime is still locked in at $75 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. I know that there's been a push to upgrade it to $125 an hour with a 2-hour minimum just to match the changes to the union contract that have happened. Video games are already in the year 2055. Like, they went from $200 to $250 an hour with a 2-hour minimum as early as like last year. So.
Oh yeah, no, I remember years ago hearing Joshua Seth, Kai from Digimon. I remember him talking about anime rates and how garbage it was. I remember him saying like, "Oh, I never got residuals for this." I think he said the saddest thing I ever heard was, "I made more money with 4 lines in the SpongeBob movie than I did on the entirety of Digimon."
Oh yeah, because he probably got residuals off of that movie. I
Yeah.
still get like a check. It's not much at this point. It's usually like $100, maybe $200. I still get residual checks for Pokemon Detective Pikachu. But to give you another example, even using a video game, I made less money off of Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity combined than I made off of Freedom Planet and its royalties.
Wow. Wow.
Yep. It's not uncommon. There was an actor that voiced a recurring, like almost guaranteed to always show up recurring character in a very well-known fighting game who filed for unemployment shortly after that game came out, just because the pay from that game was not enough to keep them from needing to find alternative sources of income.
Yeah, there was a person who I had known, or I didn't know him, but I remember that I had heard about them telling me back in high school they had worked on Broadway, but they still had to do a secondhand job because Broadway didn't pay for everything.
I'm regularly doing that. Like, I'm doing my studio work, and then on top of that, I'm doing any freelance work that I can manage to book. I have a consistent base of foreign clients that send me stuff that I'm working on. for me, it's just trying to find ways to fill the time with more potential for income. Not because I feel like I need to work that much in order to survive, but I'm the kind of person who wants to build up like a safety net so that if anything major happens, I'll be able to afford it. And it worked out for the better because my wife and I are literally a couple days away from finalizing a down payment on our first ever home. And that down payment required basically every last dollar that I have made since I moved out here 10 years ago. So if I had slacked off at all, there's every chance we wouldn't have been able to afford this house. And it's a really nice house for the market. So, everything happens for a reason.
It's good. Yeah. It also does. Are you California, Texas? I can't.
California.
California. I was going to say, and the rates in California are, whew, I already know that the houses in California, isn't it like
go ahead.
It's either the second or the most expensive state. I forget which one.
I think it's second only to like Seattle, Washington, or something like that. But it's not a distant second. But no, we definitely have been feeling to give you an example. The decent house that we found was our accepted offer was $750,000.
Holy shit!
If I were to go to Texas, even the amount of we could buy a mansion. We could buy a mansion for $750,000 in Texas. The down payment that I made or will be making in this house after all closing expenses is about $184,000. If I still lived in Michigan, I could pay for a family home in cash, in full, no loan necessary, and be done with it already.
Oh my God.
But instead, I will be paying this off over 30 years, and 73% of those payments will be to pay off interest. So it's not actually, let's see, if the loan is $585,000, I'll actually, let me, hold on. I'm going to do some quick math.
We got to do the we got to pull out the calculators here.
I gotta see. So if the loan is $585,000 times 0.73, okay. On a loan of $585,000, I will pay about $427,050 in interest, meaning the actual cost of that $585,000 loan is $1,012,050.
Man, I bet the people tuning into this didn't expect us to start talking about home interest rates.
There you go.
It's also
time to call J.G. Wentworth. Sponsor me.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm's there. That's what I was trying to think.
And I'm like, I just caught my hand. State Farm was
God.
like,
and right as I said that, I was on another webpage and a State Farm ad just popped up. Oh my God!
Alexa's listening, man. Oh, I'll just clap my hands and be like, State Farm, please. And the State Farm agent shows him and goes, no way, buddy. And just like leaves. Just...
Please, I need work, please. Oh man. Yeah, I guess in terms of online projects, there's one that I found out about a while ago. I was curious about because there was Marvel had done a web series called TLDR.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure. I don't know how long that ran. I know it ran for a little bit, and you were, oh my God, like 30 characters in that. I think.
I'm not saying this with any sort of hesitance or anger, but I feel bad because I know like the Marvel TLDR thing makes up like 50 roles out of my 200 on BTVA.
No, by like technicality, I think you've played more Marvel characters than like any other actor because of that or something like that.
Well, at one point I reached out to them and I said, hey, I just want you to know I'm not going to be bothered if you want to use different actors. Like, I appreciate, getting, the minor payment for this, but there comes a point where all the voices are going to start to mold together, and it's going to be like, oh, this is just Sean doing this voice, this Sean doing this voice. If you want to hire other people to get some more variety in your cast, I'm okay with that. And they were like, no, I know, we totally know, and we would if we wanted to, but we just really like working with you, and you have a really good range, so we know you can make it work. And I'm just like, So
Oh yeah, because I know Kira was like almost all the women on that show too. It was like
right.
mostly just the two actors. So I just had always thought it was weird because I think Fred Tatasciore I think might be the most Marvel roles ever played, but I think you're like now because of that like a technicality as like
Oh,
one of
good.
the
I'm glad I
most
could steal that trophy from him unofficially.
I actually don't know. I'd have to do the math, but I want to say Tatasciore might still have the most, but or maybe Troy. I know Troy's done quite a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. I guess it also comes full circle because you played Spider-Man briefly in that, and now you're Spider-Man in the Marvel's Avengers game. So it kind of weirdly came full circle because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah. So what's it like, I guess, playing Spider-Man now, like in a big official thing like
Well,
that?
I panicked to hell and back because obviously I had people like Yuri Lowenthal and I think it was Robbie Damon that played the animated Spider-Man, or maybe that was Max Middleman.
Robbie did it in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and the show, the TV show.
Okay, yeah. So I had to follow up those acts, and I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to sound natural? And so at one point I was like, well, maybe I can use this crippling fear, doubt, and uncertainty that I have and put it to use. And I kind of let that play into my portrayal of Peter Parker as a character because he feels like a kid who has an immense amount of responsibility on his shoulders. I think it was like the most iconic way of performing him? No. Do I think I brought myself to the table and I brought an honest interpretation? Yes. And I don't expect it to be everyone's favorite, but as long as people feel like I made a choice and I made a choice that they can believe in, that's what matters most to me.
I mean, I guess that's a question I like asking actors. Is there, I guess, a franchise that you really really like that you haven't been a part of that you really want to be a part of, or a character you've always wanted to play? Something
Etrian
along those
Odyssey.
lines.
Etrian Odyssey. I mean, I've gotten to be part of it by proxy through stuff like Mary Skelter or Zonky Zero Last Beginning. But Etrian Odyssey was the game that essentially introduced me to first-person dungeon crawlers and made me such a huge, huge fan of them. And I don't even need to be a story mode character. I would honestly, if I could just be like a male voice type, it's pretty common that these kinds of games have like a character creation system where you piece together your party from templates. Like you pick their generic looks, you pick their class, you pick their voice type, and there's like 30 male, 30 female. And I would love if I could just provide some of those male voice types so that there's a good chance that I could join you on your Labyrinth expedition and work as part of your team and help you get to the end, help you save the world. I don't know if that's going to be possible anymore because Etrian was pretty much exclusively a Nintendo DS series that made extensive use of the dual screen. And so when Nexus came out on 3DS, that was kind of its loving swan song, and we don't know if or when it would come back to modern consoles. So who knows? Maybe that ship has sailed, but its spirit lives on, and it definitely helped revive interest in first-person dungeon crawlers in the West. So even if I can't be a part of that, I can at least strive to be a part of whatever first-person dungeon crawler comes to take its place.
I was gonna say, yeah, because I was looking here. It said last game Nexus 2018. I guess it also depends on how well it did. That's the other thing, because there's also 2 spin-offs from what I'm seeing.
Right.
I mean, wow, holy shit. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, technically 8 games because 2 of them are remakes. But I was gonna say, I have surprisingly never heard of this. But then I'm also not a big RPG person, so maybe that's the other reason.
What's your genre?
I don't know if I have like a specific genre. I know hack and slash is a big type of game I like.
Extreme hack and slash title. 1 million troops. Wow.
I've heard that. What is that from? I know I've heard that.
That was
before.
from a Konami E3 press conference.
I wanted to say that was either from like an old commercial, like a Wii era commercial, or that was from like a conference of some kind.
No, it was from Konami's E3 when they were hyping up. It was either a Dynasty Warriors game or a Dynasty Warriors type of game.
I know, because Because I love Hyrule Warriors. I remember when that came out. Oh my god, I
Oh
played
God,
that like
Hyrule
I
Warriors.
swear, like 3-4 weeks straight. I played that like every
It's
day.
one of those games that like every year or two you're gonna go back to it and just nonstop play it for a couple of weeks to a month, and then just never touch it again until the next time that happens.
I know. I think the week I got it, I literally played it like about 30 hours. Like the week
That's
I
me with
played it.
Bloons. I've been playing Bloons Tower Defense so much right now.
Oh my god, I haven't heard the Bloons Tower Defense name in a few years.
It's pretty fun.
Oh, I know. I remember all the old Flash games of like tower defense type games from when I was like 10 on Newgrounds,
Right.
and funnygames.biz and all those other types of websites. I'm trying to, I guess because with Etrian, has there ever been like a big media franchise like with something like a Marvel or a Transformers or Star Wars? Like, was there ever something like that you always wanted to be a part of?
I mean, I think it ultimately falls back. So my answer to that realistically is no, but it's not because there's nothing I'm interested in being a part of. It's because as someone who's very passionate about this craft, I can get very, very invested. And that means I'm at a higher risk than some people to encounter feelings of envy or jealousy, or even bitterness, depending on like what I see my colleagues getting to be a part of. So part of how I keep myself humble is that I try, with the exception of stuff like Etrian Odyssey, like, there's always going to be something that's near and dear to my heart.
Oh yeah,
but in
'cause
general,
I didn't want to like detriment Etrian Odyssey. I was just also
Right.
It was like
But
a big,
in general,
like a big thing. Like,
in general, I'm not going to look at a franchise and be like, God, I wish I could be a part of that, because then if I am, I worry that the fanboyism is going to cause me to be less professional, and it's going to harm my performance, which I had an experience with because of Dust and Elysian Tale. And if I don't get to be a part of it, then I'm scared that I'm going to be, bitter towards the people that are in it instead of celebrating their success. So I just focus instead on doing the best job that I can do, on doing my best to stay abreast of industry trends so that I'm ready when those opportunities come along. And when I do book a gig, I focus on doing the best job that I can do so that I won't have any regrets, and I'll have something that I can be proud of to add to my portfolio. And I just hope that over time, doing that consistently will lead to me getting access and opportunities to be a part of things that either I knew were going to be cool or that I didn't know were going to be cool, but turned out to be pretty cool anyway. Like Danganronpa. No one had any idea that that was going to be as popular as it was, but we got to come back. It's got a thriving community still. Genshin Impact pretty much helped me afford this house because of how many people bought prints at cons that I've been to. So
I was gonna say
for me,
Genshin's like massive. Like even now, it's still massive.
I still don't know why.
I don't either. Is the thing.
I'm not saying it doesn't deserve to be that popular. I'm just saying I'm so removed from that game. Like I have so little involvement or interaction with it because of how busy I am already, that I don't know if it's because of the game quality. I don't know if it's because of the character designs. I don't know if it's because of the quests. I don't know if it's because of the marketing. Like I don't know. But all I know is it's extremely popular, and I'm extremely grateful to be a part of it.
And I guess with big media franchises, there was one thing I was kind of curious about, because again, you were in MK11 as Noob, and I guess there was something I was always curious about, because Mortal Kombat's always been very weird with recasting actors over the last like 10 years, and I guess because I think Jameson Price had done Noob before. And because I had been curious, because he still does the narration for MK11, so did you ever really know if there was a reason why he didn't come back for Noob, or was that just
I could theorize to hell and back, but it wouldn't. None of these would have any potential reliability to their evidence outside of, oh, this has happened in the industry before. It could have been because of budget changes, and they were like, oh, if we bring the same person back, it might cost more than we're willing to spend. It It could have been that they just wanted to try a different cast member because the character themselves changed. It might have been because they just wanted to refresh it and try something new, the way that they had done with franchises like Sonic in the past, where, pretty infamously, a lot of people know that Mike Pollock seems to be the only guy who survives the cast getting replaced over and over and over again. There's all kinds of different reasons in the industry that something like that can happen. And part of what we're taught is, there's so little that you as an actor both have control over or would have knowledge of. So at the end of the day, you should just focus on doing the job that you were brought in to do, being professional about it, and I'm trying not to make it sound like you should just shut up and do your job. But it's just that idea of there's so much in this industry that we don't have any real idea what's going on behind the scenes, and it's not worth our time, effort, and stress trying to figure it out.
I remember years ago, I remember listening to an interview with Kari Walgren, and someone had asked her about Kid Icarus Uprising. And I remember that she had said, like, oh, that was a game where I don't think that they really told us much about it. Like, because I remember there was this whole thing with games where they would, like, change the title in the script or something, so it would be technically like a secret project, so even the actors weren't even aware of what the game was sometimes. Because that was that whole thing that strike was for a few years ago, wasn't it? Like, more openness about the projects or things like that.
Sorry, repeat that again?
Oh, basically, there was that. I remember Kari Walgren had said that someone had asked her about Kid Icarus Uprising, and she said, oh, that might have been one of those games where they didn't really tell us the title. Like one of those kind of things.
And you're asking if, like, that happens sometimes where, like, there's not a lot of info that's given to us?
Yeah, because that's what the strike was for a few years ago, wasn't it? Like, more openness about the projects with games and things like that.
It was various things. It was the fact that, like, video game contractual obligations regarding video games had not been updated since the days of, like, arcade machines being the most common appearance of video games. It was for, like, safety on set and stuff like that. It was health concerns regarding vocally intense sessions. There were a lot of things that they felt needed to be updated. But part of it was that some companies would be so worried about information leaking out that they would go out of their way to hide info from actors, sometimes even hiding that info even after actors had already signed the contract promising not to talk about it. Most infamously, there was an example of the guy who voiced the lead character, I think in either Fallout 4 or Fallout New Vegas, who never knew they were voicing the main character of that game until it came out. And the reason why it was concerning was because the guy was like, well, first of all, I love the Fallout franchise. If I had known that I was voicing this character, I would have been able to, like, make better choices in my acting regarding the world that I was a part of, understanding the aesthetic of that type of game. But also, there's, like, this feeling that companies are worried that if the actors knew, and, rightfully, if the actors knew what kind of franchise they were voicing in and the size of the role that they were voicing, their agent might be able to negotiate a better rate for them because of how important that role is. So it was just this lingering sense of, we're being cheated out of potential earnings because of this. It's not fair that we signed an agreement saying we won't talk about this and you're still hiding info from us anyway. It was a whole bunch of different things.
Right, yeah, because I remember that was going on for, like, a very long time. Because I remember discussions of that strike happening in, like, the mid-2010s or something like that, and then it
I think it was, like, 2016 to, like, mid-2018. It was about a year and a half.
Yeah.
So.
You okay?
Just keeping my nose clear. The dust is kicking heavy today.
I guess back on the Mortal Kombat thing is what was, I guess with the different direction of the character, I guess what was the major direction with how Noob was done in MK11? Because I've always been curious about how, it's not even me shitting on the performance. I think I like all the performances in MK11. It's just something where I'm wondering.
That's a lie. There's got to be one you didn't like. Come on, you really appreciated Ronda Rousey's contribution to that game.
Okay. Okay. I will admit,
that's what I thought. I thought.
I'm not a fan. As much as I love Kari, I'm not a fan of the Rita Repulsa Melina.
Take a fucking step back there, champ. All right. No. Well, I remember, I think what led to them making the choice that they did, as I understood, is that the character had changed from Mortal Kombat 9 in that he had become basically a shroud of his former self. He had completely embraced the darkness. He had become more of a wraith than a human being. And so that would change the affect on his voice. I also know that when I got the audition sides for the character, it was described as being wraith-like, ethereal, not of this world. So I already knew it was something beyond being human. And when I did my auditions and when I did my 2 takes, the first take I did very high-pitched, very breathy, very wraith-like, kind of like a ghost that you hear on the whispers of the wind. And then on the second take, I wanted to do something the exact opposite. I want something guttural, deep, imposing,
And
demonic.
that's where the Dr. Claw-ish kind of
Not
voice.
Dr. Claw, but Black Doom from Shadow the
Oh
Hedgehog.
my god! It's good.
Yes.
That's
that
like
is,
that's one of my favorite voices. Oh my god.
It was just that voice that stuck out to me. It was the one that lingered in my brain that made me think of deep, demonic, imposing, and he was literally an alien. So I said, why not do that, an impression of that? So I gave my kudos to Sean Schemmel, and I did my best impression of that, and that turned out to be what they felt was most fitting for the character.
I guess I always think Dr. Claw because it's Soundwave or Dr. Claw because it's always
Everyone thought it was Frank Welker
Oh,
for
yeah,
like a
it's-
week. Go ahead.
Because again, I think it's just because everybody just when you automatically hear the yes kind of voice, you just assume it's a Frank Welker Dr. Claw impression or something like that.
And for about a week after that character trailer dropped, everyone thought it was Frank Welker. They were all congratulating him, saying, oh, it was so cool hearing your Dr. Claw voice again. You did great. Until he was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about, but I'm not in this. And they found out it was me. And then slowly everyone started going from, oh my God, that was I was so happy to hear your Dr. Claw voice. It sounds so good, to why the hell does he sound like this? This is a stupid Dr. Claw impersonation. This is so dumb. Why is this character so campy?
Oh, because I mean, it's also the thing of like, I think it's just when anybody hears that voice, they just that's the first thing they immediately go to is Soundwave from Transformers or Dr. Claw, like just one of those kind of things. It's the big beast voices, like just that kind of. Yes. No,
but it's very hard to do that kind of voice for a fighting game because that kind of voice, as you might imagine,
involves constricting your throat.
Oh my god,
it vibrate.
But then I have to do like death cries and like super skill shouts and stuff like that, which don't mix very well. So
because it's like it starts turning into Megatron at that point. It's
right,
like that kind of thing.
Right.
And then it turns into another Frank Welker character when you start screaming. It's so interesting to me when I see the ways that studios can change depending on studios can change the way a character can be done, even just by the actor.
Mm-hmm.
Like just even when you recast somebody, just how different you can get a performance. Because sometimes it'll either be somebody trying to emulate another person or someone doing something so different and either everybody loves it or it alienates everybody else. It's so fascinating to me because I think, I don't know, the first thing that popped in my head was Nolan North doing Rocket Raccoon for some of the Marvel stuff, because I remember when he first did it, a lot of people were like, it's just a Bradley Cooper impression. There's nothing. It's just a Bradley Cooper impression. And then later, everybody was like, oh man, Nolan North is so good as Rocket Raccoon.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know. It's so weird how a recast can, it goes back to Sonic, I guess. It's the same kind of thing where either everybody immediately hates it, it alienates everybody, or everybody hates it and then everybody loves it once it's taken away. Like that's because I think that's happened every time with Sonic, is like everybody hates it and then everybody loves it and then it's taken away and the people that hated it are then mad that it's gone. Like,
right.
Whew. I mean, have you ever heard the stories of how the Sonic casts have been recast and how depressing it is.
I mean, like the reasons for the recast, because I know about the stories of them being recast, but I don't really know much.
Oh, basically they were recast behind their backs and they didn't know until the new game had come out or something like that.
I heard about that stuff. Yeah.
It's oh my god, that's just so depressing to hear, and it's more crazy that Sega's done that more than once. Like, also there's I guess there's something I like asking people is, do you ever really go back to the things that you're in? Like, do you watch the things that you're in? Or do you not really? Because I know some people that can't do that, and there's some people that are like, yeah, I can watch things I'm in fine. Like,
it's I don't know if I've deliberately gone back. I feel like me going back to games that I've been in has been more a result of me getting into streaming than personal interest, and it's hard to explain that. But basically, my usual day is so busy that I rarely have time except for anything that I'm personally interested in at that moment, which tends to be a dungeon crawler or Bloons tower defense like I just talked about, or Smash Brothers or something like that. But stream has kind of given me an excuse to go back and experience these games and get to hear myself in the finished product. I've been very successful with, going through the Trails games and dubbing all of those lines if they're not voiced. I know that with AI Nirvana Initiative coming out, I've been interested in playing through AI The Somnium Files, which I'm also in, but also because it's apparently just a really good, really funny game. So streaming has kind of been my way to get to experience the stuff that I'm in, which I otherwise probably would have never gotten around to. Right now, I think we've played Trails. We're going to play AI. We're playing Shadowverse Champions Battle. We've done a lot of games that I've voiced in, and I'm glad that I'm having the opportunity to actually hear myself, and more importantly, hear my castmates and learn from them for future auditions.
Do you have that collective moment every time you hear yourself? You're like, it's me. Do you
I get excited.
have those kind of?
I get excited. I get hopeful that whatever character it was applied to, if it wasn't like a named character or a main role, that it fits the role. There was a pretty infamous one in Shadowverse Champions Battle where there was this guy who uses a dragon type deck that was kicking my ass over and over and over. And around like the 6th time that I'm rematching him, someone goes, "Hey, Sean, is this you? It sounds like it could be you." And I actually started paying attention to the quotes that he was doing in the middle of the fight, and I went, "Oh my god, that is me! I'm kicking my own ass."
Oh man,
So,
I love actors that it's either stories where they'll be asked about something that they did or they forgot about it, or they hear it for the first time and then they'll be like, "Oh God, I forgot I did that." Because
right?
I've had a few friends who have told me about things that they've been in, like shows, or like they'll be like a background character in a show and they'll hear I remember one friend of mine did a background extra. I forget what it was for, a few years ago, and he heard his voice at one point during a crowd shot, and he told me I had to go back like 5 times because I couldn't figure out if it was me or if I was losing my mind. It's just so funny to me to just hear stories like that from people.
Yeah, it's it's just one of those little moments that I get to experience from time to time.
There's one more thing that I wanted to talk about, because I remember hearing about this a while ago. The dub for Ozumatsu, and I've been curious about that because I remember that dub getting announced years ago, and I remember they even had like a full cast like 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And a lot of people didn't know if it was still happening, and it
Right.
came out. Did it come out last year or the year before? I forget.
I think it was the year before.
Yeah, and I remember when they had announced like the release date, everybody was like, "Oh, I didn't even think it was still happening." And I don't know. Did you ever really know what the whole did you ever really know any of the behind the scenes stuff with that as to why it took so long?
I mean, by now I feel like I've forgotten most of it, but even if I remembered it, I don't feel like it would be in my place to talk about it.
Ah.
Like, I know that some people were theorizing it was just because of production delays. Some people were theorizing it was because of a character being recast. I don't know. All I know, again, like this ties back to that earlier answer of, there's a lot of things that happen in the industry that we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. And in this case, I just knew that I was being asked to audition for this role, and I booked it, and I came in. Or when I knew the actor that was originally playing, I checked in with them. I said, "Hey, is it going to bother you if I audition for this? If I get cast for it, am I okay to play it?" And they were like, "No, you have my blessing. Go ahead." So I did it. I got cast, and I came in, and I just focused on catching up with everybody else and doing the best job that I could do, because that's the only thing I had control over, and it wasn't worth trying to get involved with gossip or office drama or anything like that.
Right, yeah, because I just remember it was just kind of a long internet rumor as to what was going on with it, because I just remember, I think it was like 2015 when the dub cast was announced or something like that, and just nobody knew what was going on with
it. Yeah. I said, it can be hard. Like, generally, our the only thing that we should be focused on is just making sure that we're not going to be like stepping on any toes in the process, and that we're not contributing to, for example, a strike scab or something like that. But as long as we're not causing issues for the industry by taking part, then really all we need to do is just focus on being the best performer that we can be.
Yeah. I don't know. It's because it's just fascinating to me, especially when it almost becomes like internet urban legend with things like that, where people, it's like the Canadian dub of Dragon Ball Kai that like never came out. Like how there was like years ago, a lot of ocean actors from Vancouver were like, yeah, we're gonna dub Dragon Ball Kai, and they had even had some confirmations, and then just nobody knows what happened to it. And it was like 10 years ago, and like nobody knows what happened to it. Like there's there's like never been a confirmation from what I know officially as to what happened to the Canadian dub of Dragon Ball Kai. It just never came out. Like we knew they were doing it, and some actors had confirmed that they were a part of it. Like I think that Scott McNeil had said he was coming back as Piccolo. And just it never appeared. It just disappeared off the face of the earth. And I remember when I interviewed Lee Tokar, like, God, 7 years ago, I remember him even saying, like, yeah, we were dubbing it. Like, I remember I was in the booth like not too long ago dubbing it. And I'm like, what the hell happened to it? Like,
all right,
yeah. It's just like it's so weird. It's just an enigma to see things like that happen. It's what was it? Interspecies Reviewers was like another one where
that was because my understanding, of course, I could be wrong, but
that
my
was a whole
understanding
weird fiasco from what I know.
The dubcast was like, ha ha ha, ooh, it's towing the line of sexual content. Ooh, this is gonna be so lascivious. And then they got to like episode 2 or 3, and they went,
It's I don't know if it's softcore porn, like 100%.
Oh, I mean, like that hyena girl though.
Oh my God. I remember because there was this whole thing. It was trending on Twitter because a friend of mine and me were actually the ones that discovered it. Was that it was just taken off Funimation's site, and we were all wondering what the hell happened to it. And I remember like one of the sub people from Funimation came forward and said like, oh yeah, the project's dead, even though I had already subbed like 4 of the episodes, and they didn't tell me they were doing this. And like, yeah, and Funimation like never made an official statement about it, I guess, or something like that, until it got like enough attention that it had just disappeared from the site. Because at that point, it was just so bizarre to me, because I was like, I know that me and a friend like dug into the manga because we were wondering, like, did they not know? Like, was the content not this bad, or did they just not know? And the manga is apparently not as raunchy as the show. Apparently,
interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
The manga is not nearly as sexual as the show is, from what a friend of mine found out, because he ended up digging into it to see, like, did Funimation just not know? Like, was it just one of those things where they just did like a bundle buy and they just didn't know what they bought? And yeah, no, it was like, okay, no, so the manga's not like this as much as the show is. So
Interesting.
I don't know. Again, it's this weird enigma.
I guess I'll have to both read the manga and watch the anime just to compare and contrast. I'll have to be very thorough with these comparisons.
Make a 50.
I might even watch it twice just to make sure I don't miss anything.
I need to do some extra research.
Extra research. Inter-series reviewing.
Oh my god. Do like a 40-minute retrospective comparing the manga and
Oh, I only need 5 minutes, if even.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Yeah. I mean, damn. We went from home prices to from home prices to whore prices, apparently.
Yeah, I guess, is there any advice you'd want to give to people that like want to get into the acting industry?
Don't. No, I mean, in all seriousness, that makes more sense than you think it does, because if me just saying don't is enough to make you second guess it, then your heart might not be in it, and if that's the case, then it's not worth the time and the stress that it would cause for you. But if it's something you really want to be doing, you will feel compelled to do it regardless, and that's the kind of drive that you need to make success happen in that career. So that's my recommendation is, be willing to learn, understand that rejection is a big part of the career, learn to pick your battles, and just let that passion be your guide, be your professional guide, but be your guide nonetheless. Because if you're enjoying yourself, not only is it going to be less stressful overall, but having fun is a big part of what leads to good choices and creative and fun choices. So, yeah.